Andrew Jackson, Harriet Tubman is coming for you. That's right, it's looking like she will be replacing him on the American $20 bill, y'all. Okay, it probably won't happen until at least 2030, but it's happening, dadgummit. I'm Mr. Beat, and yes, in this video, we're going to look at money. Real money. This is obviously fake money. I couldn't afford to bring in the real Federal Reserve notes, so I photocopied these at my school. Please do not tell the authorities. But yeah, real American currency, as it turns out, is not printed on paper. It's made out of fabric composed of 75% cotton and 25% linen. It's also really hard to counterfeit. You're freaking me out, you wore a mask called counterfeit. Almost every single part of American currency is there to make it difficult to copy. The United States Department of Treasury spends billions each year producing it, and it is quite an elaborate process. Oh, don't get me wrong, many still try to counterfeit American currency, and in fact, many are still successful. The Department of Treasury estimates that possibly $200 million in counterfeit bills are currently in circulation. That would mean that about one Federal Reserve note out of every 4,000 out there right now is counterfeit. That dollar bill in your pocket, George, might be a counterfeit. You might want to get that checked out. Meh, almost every store would probably still accept it anyway. After all, it got there in the first place. But hold up, what about the people on this currency? Who are these people? And do they think they're a big deal? Why, yes, they are a big deal. Most of them were American presidents. However, others are just important people in American history, and some of them featured on different currencies over the years may surprise you. The Secretary of the Treasury is in charge of selecting people, and there's no law saying that the people on the currency have to always be the same. In this video, we're going to look at every person on American currency and give a little bit of basic information about each one of them, although I'm sure you're already familiar with most of them. First of all, I've got another great sponsor for this video, and they've actually sponsored me before. It's Bright Cellars. Bright Cellars is a monthly wine club that ships wine directly to your house. Their passion is educating people on wine and introducing folks to wines they've never heard of or maybe wouldn't have tried otherwise. They sent me another box of wine. We're gonna check it out right now.
These are the cards that tell you what it is.
Where each wine comes from, what they taste like, and they send you these wines based on a quiz you take online.
They just ask you
what type of flavors you like.
And then they send you this. So what we got? Get Lost.
Lost City?
In Lost City. Oh, a blend between Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. Sibelia. Sauvignon Blanc. As you can see, these wines are from all around the world, and they are from wineries I had not heard of before I got them. Get 60% off your first 4-bottle box by following the link in the description of this video. Thank you to Bright Cellars for sponsoring this video. Now, I don't mean to brag, but let's start with the currency that I so happen to have a lot of. The penny. The penny, worth 1 cent, features the 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. Most historians today say that Lincoln is the greatest president in American history. He's been on the penny since 1909 to honor his 100th birthday. Lincoln was the first president featured on an American coin. The nickel, worth 5 cents, features the Declaration of Independence writer, founding father dude, and third president, Thomas Jefferson. He's been on the nickel since 1938. The dime, worth 10 cents, features the 32nd president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He's been on the dime since 1946, the year after he died. And the dime is so appropriate for FDR since he founded the March of Dimes, a nonprofit organization with the goal of improving the health of mothers and babies. The quarter, worth 25 cents, features an obscure founding father by the name of George Washington? Okay, I joke, of course. Washington is kind of a big deal, being the much beloved first president and also hero of the American Revolution. He's been on the quarter since his 200th birthday in 1932. The half dollar, worth half a dollar, features the 35th president, John F. Kennedy. He's been on it since 1964, the year after he died. The half dollar is the largest coin currently produced, but there aren't many in circulation since most Americans don't use them much. And now it's time for the bills. No, not that type of bills. Not that type of bill. Not that type of bill either. This type of bill. I actually had a real one of these. The dollar, worth $1. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop saying how much they're worth now. Anyway, the dollar also features the much beloved first president and American Revolution hero, George Washington. He's been on it since 1869. The $1 bill is the second most common Federal Reserve note in circulation. You probably have one somewhere, I bet. I hope so. Now, the $2 bill is much less used. It also features the third president, Thomas Jefferson, and he's been on it since 1869 as well. Because Americans think they're rare, they often collect $2 bills, but they're surprisingly not as rare as you would think. The $5 bill also features 16th President Abraham Lincoln, and he's been on it since 1914. So far, it's been all presidents on currency, but this next fella was never president. Alexander Hamilton is on the $10 bill. Many of the young folks know all about him through the Hamilton musical, of course, which is kind of weird, but yeah, he was a founding father and the first Treasury Secretary, so I guess that's quite appropriate that he's on currency. He's been on it since 1929. Andrew Jackson used to be on the $10 bill, but as I mentioned earlier, now he's on the $20 bill. Jackson was the 7th president and is arguably the most controversial one on currency that's currently in circulation. There's no denying his huge impact on American history, though. He's been on the 20 also since 1929. The $50 bill features the 18th president, Ulysses Grant, and he's been on it as long as Lincoln's been on the $5 bill since 1914. And now it's all about the Benjamins. Yeah, I have no Benjamins. Benjamin Franklin has also been on the $100 bill since 1914. Franklin was also never a president, but still a big freaking deal in American history, being a founding father, but additionally just a major American Enlightenment figure who accomplished and influenced so much in colonial America. Oh, and the $100 bill, surprisingly, is the most common Federal Reserve note in circulation currently. Now, the United States no longer issues bills in denominations larger than $100 due to technology, but also inflation, but they still are legal tender and can still be in circulation. The Treasury Department officially discontinued the $500 bill in 1969. If you happen to actually have a $500 bill and wanted to, I don't know, pay with groceries with it, you indeed could. Although that'd be silly since it'd actually be worth at least hundreds of dollars more since they are so rare. The latest version of the $500 bill features the 25th president, William McKinley, but he was only printed on it for a few years. The Treasury Department also officially discontinued the $1,000 bill in 1969. The latest version of it features the 22nd and 24th president, Grover Cleveland. A grocery store could also accept it, but please don't spend it if you have it. Sell it, man. Only 165,372 of these bills with Cleveland on it are still in existence. If they are in decent shape, they are not worth 1,000. They are worth thousands. And yes, there are actually 5,000, 10,000, and 100,000 bills out there. The Treasury Department also officially discontinued the $5,000 bill in 1969. It features the 4th president and father of the Constitution, James Madison. Fewer than 400 of these notes are believed to still be out there. Today, one would easily sell for $30,000. Yeah, if you you have one, please don't spend it on groceries. The Treasury Department also officially discontinued the $10,000 bill in 1969. It features the U.S. Senator, 25th Secretary Treasury, and Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Salmon P. Chase. No one knows exactly how many $10,000 bills are out there, but at least one site estimates you could probably get $140,000 for one in decent condition. The $100,000 bill was actually just a gold certificate that was never issued for regular public use. The Treasury Department just created them for official transactions between Federal Reserve banks. Only 42,000 bills ever were printed, and even today, collectors can't legally own one, but if they did, they'd instantly be a millionaire. Oh, and it features
Wilson?
Yeah, the 28th President Woodrow Wilson. Well, hold up. What about all the people who used to be on American currency but are no longer on it? Well, there are a lot of these people. In fact, there are too many to list in this video, so I'm just going to give you some highlights. Let's start with presidents. All of the dead presidents are on $1 coins. Also, John Quincy Adams used to be on the $500 bill. James Garfield was on the $5 bill and $20 gold certificate. Benjamin Harrison was on the $5 bill for a bit. William McKinley was also on the $10 bill. George Washington was on a bunch of different currencies. So was Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses Grant, and Grover Cleveland. Henry Clay may have never been president, but he was on the $50 bill at one point. Other senators once on currency include Daniel Webster on the $10 bill, Edward Everett on the $50 bill, John Sherman also on the $50, Thomas Hart Benton on the $100 bill, and Charles Sumner on the $500 bill. Lots of war heroes have been featured on currency, like Winfield Scott Hancock on the $2 bill, Stephen Decatur on the 20, Winfield Scott on the 100, and William Tecumseh Sherman on the 500. Legendary Supreme Court Justice John Marshall, aka Lil John, was on the 20 and $500 bills. Native Americans have made appearances on currency. Probably the most well-known is the Buffalo Nickel, which features a portrait of a man named Irontail, a member of the Ogallala Lakota Sioux tribe. There was also the Sioux chief Running Antelope, featured on the $5 bill. Sacagawea, who aided the explorers Lewis and Clark when they traveled the continent, was on the $1 coin for a few years. Heck, Lewis and Clark were also even both on currency at one point. Other women on currency include Martha Washington on the $1 bill, Susan B. Anthony on the $1 coin, and that's basically it, unfortunately, unless you count Helen Keller on the back of the Alabama quarter or Pocahontas on the back of the $20 bill with a bunch of other people. Now, while this is all fun and stuff, the vast majority of Americans don't even use cash to make purchases in any given week anymore, especially younger Americans. I mean, I rarely carry cash around with me, unless it's photocopied, of course. That might come in handy. And with apps like Venmo and the Cash App, and with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and dozens of others, it does seem physical currencies in general are increasingly becoming obsolete. But dang it, they sure are cool. In other words, I just made this video as an excuse to show off my extremely modest coin collection. Check it out. Come back, wait! Still though, putting dead people on currency has been a terrific way to honor Americans who have had such a big impact on the country. I hope it's a tradition that doesn't stop. And boy, am I freaking excited that Harriet Tubman is going to be on the $20 bill. Even if it means that by the time she's actually on it, no one is actually using $20 bills anymore to buy stuff. So what do you think? Huh? A special shout out to a generous supporter who donated to me on PayPal. Their name is Dante. They didn't want me to give them a shout out, but I just couldn't help myself. So thank you, Dante. But if you can't afford donations, please do not worry. I just appreciate you watching this video. You are still watching, aren't you?